when I met Jay, he was I think he had just turned 15. And I had just recently come home from college. I had dropped out of Old Dominion University. So my man Nike of the Shirt Kings, he actually he lived in the same building as Jay. And when I came home from school, he was having a heated discussion with somebody like, nah, Jazz is the best, period. No doubt, Jazz is the best. He was like, yo, it's this young kid, lived right in the building, named Shawn. Back then he called himself Shawnee D. He's good. I ain't never heard nobody like him. So he set up the meeting. He was like, well, who gonna rhyme first? Because, originally they set it up like a battle. We saw each other, we measured each other up and everything. I rhymed first and he heard me and I could tell he was impressed. And I was like, yo, let me hear something. And then, he spit some bars and I was impressed. And after that, it was almost like everybody around us didn't exist anymore. It's like, yo, me and you, we got to link up and start creating. And that's what we did. Like, so when you hear about, songs and things in books where he talks about, us beating on the table and eating Haagen-Dazs ice cream and, chasing it with Fruit Loops and Apple Jacks. Like we was on a ridiculous sugar high. Don't ask me why we was eating like that. But it was just a thing.
This is probably around, I think, 97, 98. I'm in my office at the Source. This is at kind of the height of the Source of success. My phone rings and it's Jay-Z. And he says, Dave, come outside. I'm out front. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Everything all right? I said, all right, cool. So I go downstairs and he wants to play me his new album. Wanted me to hear it and get my feedback on it. And
there's this cassette. It's by this guy. It's this guy, Jay-Z. It's blowing out of this store in the Bronx. They've done, 273 copies last week. I arrange a meeting. In walks Jay and Damon Dash. Right away, they're like, oh, well, we've been working on a video to the song. I'm like, okay. I've put on this video, and the video's shot in the Caribbean, and it's incredible quality. Jet skis, and I don't ask them how they paid for it.
And I was in the studio right next to Ye, and Jay was like, so Ye had two verses for, remember the song Point Out the Bounce on there. He's on that song. Now, I live with Kanye at this time, and I'm listening to him kick these verses every day, and he keep telling me why he's messing with this beat. Like, man, I want Jay to hear these verses. I want to get on the album. But every time we get in the studio with him, at this point, Ye was still like, real, like, I'm not gonna really say much. We're in the studio and he kind of mumbling his verse and I'm like, yeah, go on, say it. Like, Jay is like right here. I'm like, go on, say it. First, I had never heard this term until this day. That term, closed mouth don't get fed. So I learned that this day. He's like, what's your man talking about, Kanye? And he was like, well, no, I wrote a verse. Actually, I wrote two for this because, I thought this song was dope and I wanted to be on it. He said, let me hear it. So Jay was like, listen to that first verse. He said, kick the second verse. Jay kicked the second verse. He said, okay, give me the first part of the second verse, kick that first and the second part of the second verse and put that with it last. And again, because they don't write, Jay just like edited it in his head and said the verse, like the one half of this one half of that. Jay said, that's it, I like it. You can be on the song. Closed mouth don't get fed, Kanye.
There was a lot of moments on tour with Jay. Like, I was more or less trying to not look like I was stalking the man. You know what I'm saying? Because when you grow up listening to somebody and you get to be around them so much, you got to kind of shake the fact that they're like an idol to you and realize like they're a person. So